All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really strange and gripping modern fable. It's all about two neighbors, a bunch of chickens that keep disappearing, and this mysterious machine that ends up delivering a very unusual kind of justice.
So, our story just explodes right out of the gate with this incredibly aggressive question. Hey, fatty, do you know who I am? I mean, wow. This one line, just spat out in a moment of pure anger, it perfectly sets the stage for a conflict that's all about pride, envy, and a really bitter neighborhood rivalry.
At the heart of this whole thing are two men. They live right next to each other, but honestly, their worlds, and way more importantly, their values, could not be more different.
So on one side, you've got Bittu. He's hardworking, totally self-sufficient, and he provides for his family by raising chickens. His life is pretty quiet, peaceful. But then, right next door, you have Mitha. He's lazy, he's envious, and he is always looking for a shortcut. And to make matters worse, he's kind of spurred on by his wife Nasibo, who's just as sharp-tongued as he is. It's a classic setup, right? The provider versus the guy who wants what he has.
So, things really kick off when Mitha demands to buy one of Bittu's hens. Bittu, politely says no, explaining that these chickens are his livelihood, not just some dinner. Well, Mitha storms off with this chilling threat. I will teach you a lesson you will remember. And oh boy, talk about foreshadowing. A lesson is about to be taught, just not by the person making the threat.
And this isn't just some empty threat he's yelling. It escalates, almost immediately into a full-blown criminal plot. So Mitha, totally fuming and feeling insulted, goes home and complains to his wife, Nasibo. She gets furious and vows revenge. They basically decide that if they can't buy one of Bittu's chickens, well, they're just going to take one instead.
And get this, look at how they do it. This isn't just some simple grab, it's a calculated heist. Step 1, they acquire an asset. They get a specially trained cat that can follow commands. Step 2, they run a test. They send the cat to steal just one chicken, and it works perfectly. So, step 3, they escalate the whole operation, using this cat to systematically steal Bittu's entire flock, one night at a time.
And you can just imagine what this does to Bittu. It's absolutely devastating. He's watching his family's entire livelihood, the source of their food and their income, just mysteriously shrink day by day. And the worst part is, he's completely powerless. He has no idea who's doing this to him.
But, just when you think it's all over for Bittu, that all hope is lost, the story takes this sharp, totally unexpected, and kind of magical turn. This is where Mitha and Nasibo get just a little too greedy. They decide they're going to steal all the rest of the chickens in one final go. But this last act of theft is their undoing. The very last chicken makes a huge racket, waking Bittu up. He sees it running away and immediately takes off after it.
So that brings us to the big question of the story, right? His entire livelihood is gone, just wiped out by some unknown thief. How in the world could Bittu possibly recover from a loss this bad?
Well, the answer, believe it or not, isn't in some big confrontation. It's somewhere else entirely. Bittu follows his last chicken, but not to Mitha's house. He follows it to this hidden, mysterious cave.
And inside, he finds this thing. It's called the Murgi machine, and it's basically a magical device with one incredible function. It multiplies any chicken you put inside. You put one chicken in, and boom, a whole bunch of them come out. This discovery completely flips the script on our whole story. So now, armed with this crazy new power, Bittu is ready to turn the tables on the people who have been tormenting him.
But first things first, he needs proof. He has to be sure. And he gets his confirmation when he goes to the market, and a local butcher just happens to mention that some guy named Mitha was just trying to sell a huge number of chickens, and all the pieces just click into place.
But here's the brilliant part. Bittu doesn't storm over to Mitha's house in a rage. Nope, he plays it smart. He uses the machine to instantly refill his entire chicken coop. So when Mitha and Nasibo just happen to walk by, they are completely stunned. They're just floored. How is this even possible? See, Bittu's revenge isn't about anger. It's this baffling, impossible display of prosperity.
And this, right here, this tells you everything you need to know about Mitha's character. When Bittu shows him the machine and calls it his chicken machine, Mitha isn't humbled or scared. No, his greed just latches onto a new, more powerful target. His immediate thought is, tonight I have to steal this machine.
So Bittu, brilliantly, uses Mitha's own greed against him. He invites Mitha to get a closer look at this amazing machine. And as the envious Mitha is just marveling at it, completely distracted by his own avarice, Bittu shoves him right inside.
And the outcome? Well, it's both ironic and final. Mitha comes out of the machine, but he's not a man anymore. He's a chicken. He got exactly what he was obsessed with, just not in the way he ever could have imagined.
Okay, so now we get to the final resolution of this story, and the really powerful lesson that's sitting at the heart of it all.
Faced with this magical form of justice, Nasibo doesn't stand by her husband. She sees this and just bolts. She flees in terror, completely abandoning him. Bittu then simply picks up the newly transformed Mitha and places him in the coop with all the other chickens. His punishment is total and it is absolute.
And what we just saw is a perfect example of what's called poetic justice. It's a literary device where a character's punishment is ironically and just perfectly suited to their crime. The man who destroyed a family's livelihood out of greed for their chickens becomes a chicken himself. It makes the moral of the story feel not just fair, but really satisfying and memorable.
And so, this whole fable leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. What is the ultimate price of letting envy and greed totally consume you? Well, according to this story, the cost isn't just your possessions or your relationships. Unchecked, it can cost you your very humanity.